Greetings YouTube and welcome to my next weapons build. This is going to be built around this. And this is a funky looking eyeball. I have no idea what it is. It's solid steel. I got no idea what kind. But I bought it at an antique shop for $1. So it cost me $1 for this thing. And it's got some nice weight. And a lot of it is concentrated on this end, which makes me happy. So my initial idea was to use 3 of these nuts to make a head, but it doesn't quite fit. The last nut just barely fits on there, and I thought, you know, I can make this more interesting. Oh yeah, I bought these at Tractor Supply, where they sell them by the pound, so it's like $5 a pound for these things, and this is 2.39 $2.39, so 2.39 pounds apparently. And this is a 7/8 by 9 thread, which is what this is. So if you have large nut needs for your builds, go to Tractor Supply. They carry a lot of large stuff, so you wouldn't necessarily have to go to an online source. Also, figuring out what that is without some kind of nut or some kind of gauge or something is going to be difficult, because that's a weird size. It's not a size you're going to encounter at a big box store. I know, I checked. But I decided to make it more interesting. Now I have this plate of steel. This plate of steel already has kind of an angle on it. I'm going to accentuate that angle so it's a little bit more pronounced. But I'm going to make it square. At the moment it's kind of rectangular. So I'm going to have to cut off this side here, because it's got, this was obviously cut with a torch of some variety. So I'm going to cut that so it's square, and then grind the angle so that it makes sense, and then put a hole in the middle. Now this is my largest broaching bit. It is not big enough, but it's close. So I'm going to open it up with this and then see if maybe I can grind it out with some stones till it gets to the size I need it. I don't know what this is. I literally found this in a gutter. I was taking a walk with my wife and this was literally lying in the street. So I picked it up, I brought it home, and I know I'll find a use for this someday. I figured I might have to make a washer or something out of it, or washers plural. But it's nice. It's fairly thick, and I'm going to mount it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this tubing, because this tubing is almost exactly the diameter I need, and cut a little piece of it just up to the first thread. I'm going to monkey with it and see exactly where it needs to be to get the 2 nuts where I want them. So somewhere, I'll figure out how long I need it, cut that length, and that will become my spacer. It's also going to be a nice contrast in texture and color. It's a bright chrome. This is not. That'll look nice and make a nice contrast against this and this. And then put 2 nuts here, like this, with a space in between for the plate. So I may end up having a very, almost a ring of that. It's not going to be very big. Yeah, because I think it's about where I'm going to need it. So I'm probably only going to need, I don't know, 1/2 inch. Yeah, maybe only 1/2 inch. I mean, I don't even think that would be 3/8. No, I don't. But yeah, I'll take a look at it, I'll measure it, and get it all cut so I can put it in there. And again, that's the spacer. Then these 2 nuts. This nut becomes superfluous, but I'm sure I'll find a use for it someday. But at the price I paid, it's not much of a deal breaker. But I was happy to find it, because the big box stores don't carry stuff that large. Then make this square, find the middle, drill, mark it, and then drill out with the broaching bit until I get the biggest hole I can here, and then work from there. So I'll put and poke around in my collection of drill bits. I don't think I have one big enough, but even if I do, I'm gonna want to take out as much metal as possible. You want as much out of the way as possible for that kind of drilling that kind of a hole. I may have an oddball drill bit someplace. We'll see what I got. I have collected a number of weird drill bits over the years, so maybe I'll get lucky and I can find one that's gonna do what I need to do. Oh, so that is what we've got on the docket at the minute. So while it looks very simple, there's still going to be cutting, more cutting, drilling, shaping, and then finally assembly. And we're going to end up with a small, stumpy little mace, but it's going to be extremely dangerous still because it's going to have nice points for impact as well as a nice heft overall. So yeah, this is going to be a nice stumpy little mace, but dangerous nonetheless. All right, so first up, I think I'm going to cut a piece of this and then we'll figure out how long it needs to be. So here's the plate all cut and ground. It's not perfectly square, but it's really darn close to square. And that is a pretty nice looking overall grind, seeing as I did this thing freehand with just an angle grinder. And I've already marked the center with a mark for my hole. So now I'm going to set this up in the drill press with my broaching bit and drill that hole out. This is going to be very nasty when I'm done. I really like it. It kind of reminds me of like a really evil chunky candy bar. You guys ever have Chunkies? I love those things. I can't have them anymore, but I loved those things when I could. They were so tasty, even if it was American chocolate. This is just going to be so nasty when I'm done. And there is the completed mace. Getting that hole to be the right size was a pain in the butt. I did end up having to use my die grinding bit, and I just misshapen it. I have to find a steel die grinding bit, and every time I go to a hardware store, I've been looking for them, and I haven't found any yet. So I'm hoping if I hit Harbor Freight this weekend, maybe they will have them. Because if they don't, I'm going to have to go online. I've been trying to avoid it, but I may have no choice. I need the goddamn things. With lack of them are making my life hard. I've set this up so that if you have it in this orientation so that the seam is here, there's a point facing in that direction. So if you want to edge alignment, you can hit with the point, but I can guarantee you if you hit a human not in heavy armor with this, that's going to cause a grievous wound. That thing is just nasty as all get out. Now, I could have made this a little shorter. You may be asking, why didn't I? So that this nut would fit on a little bit further. But the problem is the way these threads are set up. To do that, I would really need to have to grind down. What I really need to do is grind down the bolts, because the threads don't go all the way down. So that is as far as I can go and still have this nut catch. So to really have this worked out properly, I would have to grind off like 1/8 of an inch or even 1/4 of an inch of each of these nuts to get that to sit flush. And that's a lot of goddamn grinding. I mean a lot of grinding. And I'm just not willing to do that at this point in time. I don't want to destroy the nuts. I could, because if I decide I wanted to do something in the future, I can. Or if I decide to, I want to use the nuts for another project, I also can. That plate just came out so damn nice. I don't care if it's not perfectly square. It is just so wonderfully angled and beveled. It's just so damn nasty. When I was doing this, I did the first bevel, and I could hold it in this twice from both ends, because I didn't want to grab the bevels themselves, of course. They wouldn't have provided a much purchase anyway. So I did two sides here. I did the vise set at this angle so I could come over like this, but it gives me nice support when I'm doing it, so it makes it easy. And then I did the other two. I clamped to here, just with one of my my Irwin hand clamps, and then that way I could stand here and then grind it, and that from this angle, because that's the direction I have to hit it from to work with the angle grinder well. But when I finished the first bevel, I took it out of the vise and I'm holding it in my hand, and I am laughing like a maniacal madman. I'm just like, I wish I could have recorded it, because it would have made a great clip for other people to use, because I'm just like, oh, this is so nasty. This is so cool. I am so happy with this. And I am so happy with this. It's just wonderful. And it's really got a heft to it, because again, this is solid steel. I don't have any clue what it's from. It's got no markings. I got no idea what it was designed for, but now it's mine, and it cost me all of $1. That cost me nothing. It was already in my collection. I think that might have picked that up at a it's still a thrift shop, and there's two halves of it because it was originally like a chin-up bar or something like that, but it had no spring in it. It was broken, so I used one half on another project and I made a battle axe out of it, and the other half has been kind of sitting around waiting for a project, but so I only used that much of it, so I got plenty of the tubing left over for me to do something else with. So that cost me nothing. This was $1. This cost me nothing, and these two things cost me, well, I got 3 of them for $2.39, so you do the math. So what, 80 cents a pop? So yeah, so this is a really low cost project. The only difficulty was getting that hole to be the size I wanted. Everything else was just an angle grinder, just doing the cutoff to get it to be squarish, and then the angle grinding itself. My broaching bit did an incredibly wonderful job making that hole 375. No, sorry, 0.275. It was awesome. I was so happy. It cut like butter through this material. Very happy with them. And then the rest was just wearing down. That was actually full size when I started. It is no longer full size. But they're not hugely expensive. You can buy a set of those. It's got like 5 bits in it for $10 or $11, so it's not hugely expensive. Those I get at an estate sale, so they cost me next to nothing. But yeah, happy with this. Quite happy. All right, so now I'm going to take it outside, take some pictures. I got a little bit. Do I got any light left? Yeah, I got a little bit. The sun's almost down. I can get my butt moving. It is winter, and it's in fact today is Christmas. Speaking of winter, so Merry Christmas. This is the second project I've completed in one day. So the last one was Merry Christmas, and this one's Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas. So I'm going to take outside, take some stills for this video, and then some stills for my Instagram and my DeviantArt page. So stop by, take a look at my DeviantArt page if you would, so you could see the permanent warehouse of the images I have of my weapon builds. And thank you for being here, and I hope that you will return for the next build.